All right, looks like we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Unpacking List. I am Brooke, the founder of Her Packing List. And each week we're going to talk about a different topic that's not necessarily travel related, but that's interesting to people who like to explore new topics and new ideas and the world. So this week, I am so excited to talk about today's topic. Because I love food, I live for food, and if that food is also vegan, then I'm even more excited. So, so this is going to be a fun chat, and I will say that eating a mostly vegan diet is probably what has helped me to not gain 100 pounds while not being able to go to the gym. So, when I got the idea to talk about today's subject, I couldn't think of anyone else to talk to except for today's guest, Diana Edelman of Vegans Baby. She has, she's done so much for the vegan scene. She literally walks the talk. I'm going to say she single-handedly revolutionized the Vegas vegan dining scene. And she's just done her part to help make vegan living more accessible to people no matter where they are in the world. So let's go ahead and welcome Diana to the show. Hello, Diana.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
No, this is awesome. I'm super excited to talk about today's topic. This is, something very near and dear to me, and obviously you as well. So how are you doing today?
I am good. It is, I live in Las Vegas, so it's been hot. So it's an adjustment, and I'm inside most of the time anyway because we're still kind of shut down here. So, it's been good though. It's always a good day.
Yeah, awesome. So just before we go further, just to let everyone know, I'm looking at my monitor, but my camera is here. So that's why I'm looking up instead of at you, because my laptop screen decided to stop working a few weeks ago.
Thank you, technology.
Yeah, it's like the worst possible time for this. But why don't you take a minute to tell us a little bit about you and what you do, where you are, all that kind of stuff.
Well, I am in Las Vegas, and I am the founder of Vegans Baby, which is a business dedicated to making it easy to be vegan. And so I do this through food because I feel like being vegan has so many misconceptions, especially when it comes to what you're putting into your body. So my goal is to show people that it's easy to be vegan and that you can find vegan food, and it's not only baked potatoes and salads and French fries. It's a lot of really good stuff out there. So that's my goal, and I obviously am vegan, and I've been vegan for quite a few years now. And I used to be very active in the animal rights side of things, and so I realized that is a huge emotional toll for me, and I didn't want to continue that path, but I still wanted to be able to speak up for animals and make their lives better. And so this is kind of my animal activism.
Yeah.
Showing you good food.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting that you say that it was taking such a big toll out of you. I can imagine.
Yeah, it was really hard. So now it's, I get to just share really happy things because I feel like part of activism is being positive and encouraging people through positive messaging versus, and for some people it works, but for me it just really doesn't. So I like to change minds by putting something down in front of them that's delicious.
Yeah, that's great. So let's say I've actually known you for years. I mean, I've known you for a long time, since we were just travelers and travel bloggers.
Yeah.
Before you started Vegans Baby, that whole thing.
Hold on 1 second. I'm so sorry. My cat's going to destroy something. Well, I'm so sorry. But
Not a problem.
I'm talking.
Not a problem. Hey, if anyone's watching right now, can you let us know if the sound and video are matching up? If you can hear us okay, give us a thumbs up. That would be great.
Okay, sorry. So, yes, we have known each other. I started G Travels Round in 2009.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So that was when I got to Australia. So So I've known you basically as an acquaintance, like before this whole thing happened, and I've watched the transformation from traveler to, activist to running Vegans Baby, and it's just been super impressive and inspiring, and I love it. And then even a few years ago, when I was in Vegas, you took me on this private vegan food tour, and it was awesome and amazing. And I think that was the first time I tried the Beyond Burger.
Yeah, at Whole Foods.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that was so good. It was the first time. And now, like, Beyond Burger is everywhere. Well,
Yep.
pretty much. I mean, it's come to Australia, so that's pretty awesome. So, oh, yeah, good times. So you've done so much for the vegan cause, but it wasn't always that way, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm not mistaken, this all happened because of some experiences you had when you traveled?
Yeah. So I ended up in 2011 for my 31st birthday. I just aged myself. I went to Thailand because I read a book called Water for Elephants, and I was like, this elephant is amazing, and I just want to hang out with her. And so I went to Thailand. I found a sanctuary that had like volunteer visits for like a week, and I booked it. And when I was there, like, my intention when I went to Thailand was to hang out with elephants and to ride one. And I remember being in the van on the way up to the sanctuary, and they're going over everything, and I was like, when do we get to ride an elephant? And I turned like, you don't. And I was like, oh, okay. And then, like, as soon as I got there and I met these elephants, and they'd been rescued from street begging, from riding, from circuses, from illegal logging, from forced mating, all of these different circumstances. And I sat there and I was like, oh my God, like, why would I want to do that to an animal? And then I learned about how these animals are treated and what goes into riding them, and I was just ashamed. And so I spent that week, like, there's a lot to be said about seeing these animals and hearing their stories and what they've gone through that just changes your whole, like, perspective on life and travel. Because up until that point, we, as travelers and as travel bloggers, you promote things and you're like, well, I'm going to do something. And, I'm not going to lie, like, some of what you do because you want people to read about it and you want that audience. And so, how great is a picture of me riding an elephant? And back 10 years ago, it would have been great. And so when I went there and I saw that, I met the founder and I told her that I was a travel writer, and she was really smart. And she was like, come with me. And so she took me into the field, and it was me and her and another volunteer. And she sat us in this field in the middle of a herd of elephants. And it was amazing and terrifying at the same time. But when we were there, like, she talked about, her work and her movement, and my background's public relations and obviously writing. And I was like, I really want to help you. And she's like, oh, well, maybe you can come to Cambodia. And I was like, okay, cool. Which, I mean, whatever, in passing, fine. And then I got back to Thailand and I was so motivated, and I was like, I'm going to tell everybody why they shouldn't ride elephants. Like, when you first learn about something and you're so passionate, you're just like, you want to, like, buy a billboard. And so that was me. Like, I'm like emailing, like, writing just for the Huffington Post. I'm emailing CNN. I'm like, you won't believe what goes on. And oh my God. Like, I probably emailed you. I was like, Brooke, did you know what goes on with elephants? Like, everybody I knew, every travel blogger, I'm like, don't ride an elephant. And so I stayed in touch with the founder. And then a few months later, I was like, you know what? I quit my job. I was working part-time as a director of PR for a restaurant group. And I was like, I want to go back to traveling because I'd done so a year and a half earlier and spent a good part of a year, like, backpacking by myself. And I wanted to keep doing that and keep writing. And so I emailed her and I was like, I think I'm going to move to Chiang Mai in a few months. And if there's an opportunity, I would really like to work for you. And I don't care if I'm scooping poop or whatever, but it's something I'd really like to do. And she wrote me back and she was like, I like your writing. Why don't you come work for me? I'll get you a visa and you can come work for us in Thailand, and you can do my writing and you can do social media and public relations. And, obviously I went. And so when I was there, nothing prepares you for what you see when you're going into something with animal rescue and animal rights. And so, nothing was camouflaged. You saw it all. And the things I saw were just horrific and gut-wrenching and, just really, really hard. Like, I don't think there was a week that went by where I didn't just lose it. So that's kind of where I started my movement towards vegan. I stopped eating meat like my first week in Thailand. And then right before I moved back to Vegas, I was with a dear friend of mine who was vegan, and we were living in Madrid. And she was like, I don't understand how you haven't made the connection, Diana, you eat dairy still. And I'm like, oh, but pizza and cheese and eggs. And she's like, but you don't, but you're so passionate about animals and like them living like their lives. And do you know what goes on in these other industries? And I'm like, yeah, but, and she's like, but what? And I sat there and like, it was that click. Like people always talk about it makes you realize, and it was that click. And I'm like, oh crap, you're right. Like, I can't say that I love animals. I can't stand behind what I say if I don't like fully act on it. And so that was it. So it was like a 4-year path to get there.
Yeah, it was a journey, but you had to, make your values, your lifestyle cohesive with your values. So super important. Yeah, it's like you can't be an activist for animal rights if you're going and taking part in the industries that are affecting other animals. So, So you've been vegan ever since?
Yeah, that was it. I moved back to Vegas, went vegan, because I also living abroad, especially living in Madrid at that time, vegan wasn't really a thing. Like there were a couple of vegan places, but it was like just vegan mock meats and stuff like that. And I've never really been a huge fan of those. So I was always like, well, when I go back to the States, it'll be easy because I can communicate, I can read labels and all of that. So yeah, when I landed back in Vegas, that was that.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So I am not full vegan. I'm like, I like to call myself a vegan enthusiast. So I probably live like a 90% vegan life and then 95% vegetarian. And then occasionally like I have like a bite of chicken, which, but for the most part, like at home, my lifestyle is I don't buy anything that's meat or dairy or anything like that. And, but it's been a journey. Like I was raised in the Midwest of America and I ate so much red meat and beef and all the meat, like when I was growing up, like that was what we had.
Yeah.
And my family doesn't really comprehend like what I do with food, but, but for me, it was definitely a journey to get there. Like there were things that happened, throughout my life that kind of, were little telltale signs that I would get to the point where like, I don't really want to eat meat or have it in my life. The first thing was like, I'd hate raw meat. Like I would never cook it. Like I would be like, if I was on my own cooking for myself, I was like, I'll have eggs, like I'm not going to go and buy like the meat or the chicken. Like I'll get that from somewhere else and they touch it and they cook it. So that was like another thing. That was like one thing. Another thing was like, I was very picky with my meat and I felt a little bit like bad about myself because I was like, I can't, if I'm not eating the whole animal, then like, it's not right. I don't know. So there was things, but then I remember there was one moment that when I was traveling that really kind of put it all into perspective for me, or it just made me take a stand for the first time. So I was traveling in Mongolia and I remember being out in the steppe, out in the fields, and looking in the distance and seeing what looked like dogs running and playing and jumping in the fields. Got closer and realized they were baby cows. And they were so playful, just like a dog, right? And I remember thinking, oh my God, they're not like they're not like this big like creature that just stands there and chews grass all day. It just made me think of him as a dog from that point on. And I remember when my boyfriend at the time, his mom's like specialty was veal schnitzel. And that was the thing that she made for everyone. It was like the one dish that she perfected that she would make. And when we got back, I was like, can't eat the veal schnitzel. It was like my first stand against eating like, at least a baby cow. It was like my first stand at becoming, meat-free. So that was kind of really instrumental for me. And I, just always think about that, especially with veal. Oh.
I mean, all of it makes me sad, but I actually wanted to say, when you talk about being like 95% or anything, like I think a lot of people, there's this stigma with going vegan. It's not like the vegan police will get you if you're not 100% vegan.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell people, like, you do the best you can do and it'll happen, So like, I never, like, people just are so quick to attack other people. Well, you can't call yourself vegan if, you have a bite of chicken every few months. Okay, fine, whatever. But also, like, I don't want to discourage you from doing your 95%. So
Exactly.
Good job. Congratulations for making that decision 95% of the time.
Yeah, I think any bit that you can do is going to help. And there are times when it's just easier. You're at a friend's house or you're at, an event where your mom cooks something for you and you're like, fine, I'll have a bite. But for the rest of all your decisions, if you're choosing the other way, you're making a big difference for,
And you'll get there. Like, one day you might just be like, no, you know what? Thank you, but I don't want to have a bite of that.
Yeah. 100%. And we got someone commenting, Kristen says, yes, that's my philosophy on meat too. I don't cook it at home because I can't handle it when it's raw. Yeah, absolutely disgusting. Yeah. Yeah. But my progression, like there was a few years ago when I was like full vegan and I had to actually watch my iron levels. So that was
I always tell people, like, if you're going vegan and you feel like you're not feeling 100%, go to a doctor, go to a nutritionist and get your blood work done.
Yeah.
Because you do need to supplement B12.
Yeah, your B vitamins and your iron is especially something to think about as a woman. So what does it actually mean to like be vegan or plant-based? What does it mean?
Okay, so vegan is like not consuming or purchasing anything that is from an animal, derived from an animal. So it goes to like meats, cheeses, milk, honey isn't vegan because it's coming from another living creature. Silk, wool, cardigan, cashmere, things in your makeup, things in your cleaning supplies, nothing tested on animals. So it's the whole gamut. So basically, you're not using or consuming anything made with animals or animal byproducts, and plant-based is your diet.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So vegan, lifestyle, plant-based diet.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. So it's about more than food, and like you said before, like some people will say, like, well, milk is not actually like killing an animal. So what do you say about that? Like when people say cheese and milk, the animal's still alive.
The animal's still alive, but the conditions of which it's being harvested are inhumane. And then, a lot of the vegan philosophy is it's not yours if it doesn't come from you, and like they're not giving you permission to use their byproducts, so therefore it's not yours to use. But the reality is, and I don't want to get into like the whole like animal whatever, because it's not my forte, and I personally think like it's sad. But these cows are impregnated constantly, so they're continually giving milk. The babies are separated from them, like the chickens, the eggs, like the males, if they're males when they're born, they're thrown into a grinder. So, it's a pretty crappy life for those animals.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's something that people don't really think about. I remember I met this woman, she went vegan, and she had a moment where she was driving and she saw these dairy farms and she saw these cattle like being kept in these little stalls, and it was just like a light bulb moment for her, and she was like, okay, from now on I am dairy free, like I am not eating meat, I'm dairy free. Like it was yeah.
Right now too, like if you've been following anything going on, at least here in the States, like because of COVID, like there is now a meat shortage, like all these meat packing plants have had people die and get the virus, and they're literally gassing and shooting all the animals now. So like I don't even know the numbers, but like it's disgusting. So it's really
very sad.
Like, a product of all of this, unfortunately.
It's a weird industry, and okay, so I have this thing, I hate the pricing. Okay, I feel like vegans, like we get gypped when we go out to dinner, because a lot of times, like they'll replace the meat with like a few bits of tofu or something, and they still charge you the same amount, Or if you want tofu, they'll say, oh, you have to pay extra. If you want almond milk, you have to pay extra. All that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, you know what? That other stuff came from a living creature. Like, it should cost more.
It's changing too now, though. Like, I work with restaurants here in Vegas, and they're really changing that because the reality is, for a lot of times, especially if it's a plant-based menu, and the ingredients they're using are very high end, especially at nicer restaurants. Like, they're getting the organic, they're getting really special stuff. So it is going to be more expensive. But, you know, if I want to order like veggie, like fajitas, and I'm like, I don't want the chicken, and they're still going to charge me the chicken price. It's like, come on. So a lot of restaurants now are having separate, it's just a separate menu item now. So you're not, you know, like, oh, why it's an upcharge to put tofu in my whatever. Now they're starting to create separate dishes, which is really, really nice, and it really does show that like their commitment to growing and being a part of the like plant-based community. Yeah,
the things are changing.
But the almond milk, there still is an upcharge in a lot of places.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Although right now, I think those milks are more expensive than dairy milk, but that's going to change.
Obviously, they're more expensive than dairy milk. But I still feel like that's wrong. I feel like it should be the other way around.
I think it should just be one flat price for all of it.
100%. Yeah. We're going to...
Soy milk, come on, make that cheaper, man.
Yeah, I think if I had a cafe, I would do it the other way around. Like, you have to pay more for regular milk.
Yeah. Or just, you know what, open a vegan cafe, then you're in, because there aren't a lot of vegan cafes.
Yeah. So why is it so important that we start thinking about like a vegan diet, plant-based diet?
Ooh, I mean, there's so many different reasons. You know, like I went vegan, obviously, for the animals. I think it's what's important to you. But I think no matter what, in the coming year, 5 years, decade, more and more attention is going to be given to the conditions of animals in farms, whether they're factory farms or local farms, et cetera, and what they're being fed, and just the whole animal agriculture system itself. The environment, I mean, we're in the middle of a huge environmental crisis right now, and going vegan is a way to help slow that down a bit. And then there's your health. And, you know, with documentaries like What the Health, and more doctors coming out and saying you can reverse diabetes, you can reverse heart disease, you know, you can do all of these things that are by just switching to a plant-based diet. Like, cut the crap out, eat your greens, and it can be so much better for your health. So I think as those dialogues become more important, it's going to just continue to grow. And I think more and more people will kind of, we'll see the light, basically, and start to go vegan. Because right now, you know, at the Oscars this year, at the Emmys this year, they were plant-based dinners.
Wow, and I didn't know that.
They went completely plant-based. And then you have Joaquin Phoenix, who won the Best Actor for the Oscars, get up and give a speech and talk about being vegan. And then the next night, you see him rescuing a pig from a pig. I think he rescued a pig, or he went to a pig vigil, and then he rescued a calf like the next day.
Oh, God.
So Cyrus, you have all of these people that are very outspoken now and becoming quite passionate about it. And the more mainstream it goes, I think the more people are going to start to see that, you know, wait a second. And they're going to be going vegan, and they're not going to have that lack mentality of I'm missing out when I go vegan. Okay. Whereas it's like, oh my gosh, I'm really excited. Like, I'm doing something so good for me, so good for the environment, so good for other living beings. Like, this is just a good thing in general. So
yeah,
at least that's.
Yeah, there's lots of good things. Especially the health. Like, I think, okay, so when I went on that trip and then I started to say no to veal, then I watched Forks Over Knives. Do you remember that? And that was just like the thing. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give it a go. I'm going to cut it all out. And that was like my kind of health.
Yeah.
It was health. Animals definitely play a big part, but health definitely is a big thing.
You know, and it's because, like, I used to have really bad acne, and as soon as I stopped dairy, my skin cleared up.
Aww.
So it's, you know, it changes your body when you cut like the stuff out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you must have had like, were you having like any other issues with dairy at the time, or was it just the skin?
No, I don't know. I mean, I just know that like I always had just my face would just always break out, and then it went away. And I was like, oh,
I mean, I have heard that before from people that they gave up dairy and then their skin cleared up. For me, unfortunately, that is not the case. But I'm not.
Have it every now and then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have a story, and this is the next topic I kind of want to talk about with this. So when I was living in the inner west of Sydney in this really cool neighborhood that was very alternative and forward thinking, tons of vegan restaurants, bars had given up straws in their drinks like years ago, that type of place, right?
Impressive.
Yeah, yeah. I was waiting outside this like really busy restaurant, fully vegan that I love, and it was packed. This couple came and they got into line and they were like looking around, looking at the menu, all that kind of stuff. They looked to me and they're like, "Is this place good?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, it's so good. And everything here is vegan. You don't have to worry about what you order. It's amazing." And as soon as I said the word vegan, the guy goes, you could see it in his eye, and they left. They like literally like left like 2 seconds later. And I was like, oh, I should just kept my mouth shut and they should have just like had the experience, inside. So that's something I want to talk about, like the whole vegan stigma thing and like how if you say the word vegan, people almost immediately, I don't know, shut off. Yeah.
They do.
So yeah, is it changing at all? Like how does that impact your business, what you do?
When I launched Vegans Baby, I didn't think about the word vegan and its stigma. Now I'm like, oh, plant-based baby would sound not as good.
Vegans Baby worked though. It's Vegas. Like it was perfect. Like,
I think that it does have a stigma, and it has a stigma for a lot of different reasons. I think vegan has a stigma because you have like the hardcore like activist, not even like militia vegan who will shame you. They'll throw blood on you and things like that. Like there are those people, and and I don't knock them. I think everyone has their own way of sharing their message. I don't necessarily. It's not the way I handle it. And I don't necessarily agree with all of the different ways that people go about trying to impart change. But I know they truly believe where they're coming from, and so I don't knock them for that. But I think that a big part of it is that, there's that idea that vegans are aggressive, they're judgmental, they are mean, they'll attack you. So that's like the personality side of vegan. And then there's the actual like other side of vegan where it's like, dirty hippie food, granola, like everything's raw, or it's salads, or it's potatoes and French fries, and like, ew, what do you eat? And so I think those two things that like I've been trying to really combat. Like I want to be approachable. I want to be just someone like, I want to be like your friend basically and be like, hey, here's this beautiful plate of vegan sushi that you're going to love because it's made with beautiful flavors, and you're not going to be like, where's the meat? Because it just tastes so damn good. It's not going to matter. Like we've just had this idea ingrained in our head that in order for something to be a meal, it has to be a meat, and there has to be some sort of like animal derived protein, when that's not the case. When the truth is you can create a delicious meal with similar textures as meat, with similar flavors as meat, without harming an animal. And so like what I try to show people, like I just did a tasting today, and it's a new plant-based Japanese restaurant, and it's some of the most exquisite food I've ever had in my life. Like I work with the James Beard House, and this is a chef that I would want to bring with me to the James Beard House to cook. He's phenomenal, and the sushi was using like locally sourced like flowers and like herbs and things, and it's beautiful. And so I really want to show people that like, the stereotypes you have aren't reality. And, you talk about the couple that said, oh, it's vegan, whatever, and they left. I have so many people in my life where I'm like, do you want to go get vegan food? And they're like, I probably wouldn't like it. I'm like, you seriously, like half of the food that on the plate you're eating is vegan. You just don't think about it, Yeah. So it's like, there's just that idea that you're not going to like it. I like to to kind of like sneak attack people with it
Oh,
and just
yeah.
be like, you like that? You like that?
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
sneak attack people. Like, I've done entire like Halloween parties with nothing but vegan food and vegan treats, and like everyone loved it. Like, you know, and then afterwards you're like, by the way, there was no dairy. That meringue was made from aquafaba. Like, surprise.
Every year, and she is an amazing cook, and I went to her party this year and she had an entire charcuterie spread on her table, and it was all plant-based meats and cheeses, and people were like, this is, I think there were maybe like 5 vegans at that party, and everyone was like, this is amazing. Like, she made vegan deviled eggs, like you would never have known. And so, and it's not just using, like, you can have amazing food that doesn't have the mock meats and stuff. Like, it's just, you can make whatever, and it's just, you know, some of that food is just phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if you are walking away from a vegan meal and you feel like something's missing, then you just haven't had the right, you know, meal. Like, you haven't had the protein replacement that you needed. You didn't, you know, like, there's, yeah, people think that it's just salad. Oh, I'm having a vegan lunch. It's just salad. But it's like, you didn't put any protein in there. No wonder you're hungry, you know, like.
You know, and it's, you know, it's funny because a lot of people think that you can't get protein anywhere from meat. But then one thing I learned when I was in Thailand was elephants are the largest land mammal in the world, and they're vegan.
And they're huge.
They're huge. And so literally, what are cows? Cows are vegan, you know, and you're eating their meat, which is coming from a fully plant-based diet. So they're, you know, it's the same fuel that fuels them is what fuels us. People will just have that idea that they can't have it. Yeah. And, you know, kale, all vegetables, like, some of them have just so much protein in it. It's fine. And then you know, there's that idea of getting the perfect protein. So that's like brown rice and lentils, or like whole wheat bread and peanut butter, and you get that perfect protein that you would get in a meat anyway. Yeah. So you can definitely replace meat with other things and be completely fine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's just that word. We got to get past that word somehow, vegan. Yeah, and I think, I don't know, reframing it, like, do you think plant-based is better? Because, like,
I've started, especially with like higher end restaurants now, like, it's plant-based.
Yeah.
And I'll switch between the two words because I'm a foodie, and I really want other foodies that aren't vegan to just come try the food. And so I definitely use plant-based a lot more now when I'm talking about things like in interviews and things like that. If I'm talking to a restaurant and advising them, I tell them to have a plant-based menu, not a vegan menu.
Yeah.
If you're a plant-based restaurant, I'm like, stay away from the word vegan in your restaurant. Like, if someone comes to me before they open, I'm like, get rid of the word vegan, because automatically it's going to detract people. Like, you know, don't tell people you're vegan. Just show people how good the food is, and then be like, guess what? We're vegan. You know, like, I think having that word vegan, you're automatically cutting yourself off from people that would otherwise try you.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like, once they try it and then they're like, oh, that was great. And then it just changes their perception. Like, it just, it's that whole reframing concept. You know, like I said, like, some of the comments I'll get, like, from people is, you know, but bacon tastes so good, you know, or something like that, you know. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, so does chocolate cake. I don't eat it every day, though. You know, I don't need to have it all the time. Like, and then they're kind of like, oh, so you're just, like, it kind of makes them think differently. Like, I can adjust. I don't know. Look at it differently.
It's framing it as, you know, there's a point of, I don't know how to say this without sounding like a jerk, but it's not just about you, you know, and it's taking a step back and realizing that your decision impacts the lives of other living creatures. And, you know, do you want to live a life filled with compassion, or do you just not care about anyone but yourself? And I know it sounds very whatever, but like, that's kind of, you know, it's like, if you consume these products knowing the torture and abuse these animals go through, what does that say about you? That your taste buds are more important than, you know, the life of another living creature.
Yeah. I think there's that hard line of people being like, well, animals are there for us to eat.
Yeah.
That's what they're created for. That's why they're on Earth. And I mean, sure, and back in the day when people were trying to like hunt to survive and that kind of thing, like, I understand, like, you needed to get an animal because otherwise you probably weren't going to have enough food. But now we live in such a different environment, different world, that it's just, not necessary. And it's even doing more harm to a lot of the planet to have those animals. So for farming. Yeah, it's hard to reframe it. That's probably your ongoing battle with Vegans Baby. Hey.
But that's why I just want to show people it's easy, because if you look at my Instagram and you don't look at the account name and you just see food, you're just going to see food.
And it's going to be delicious food.
Yeah. If you eat with me, I mean, obviously you're going to know it's vegan if you're eating with me, but like I want to show you that like this dish is vegan and look how good it is. And that's part of the things I do at my James Beard dinners. Like I bring chefs that aren't vegan to cook at the James Beard house and make vegan food. Yeah. And their eyes are open to this new cooking. And then people that come in, they come in because they support the James Beard house and they're trying this, and it's a fully vegan menu and it's high end, like upper echelon of chefs making this gorgeous plant-based food. So it's kind of just showing them that you're not giving anything up. You're not missing anything by choosing to have a plant-based meal.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So I want to know, like, you've done a lot of travel since becoming vegan. So what have you struggled with? Like, what are some tips for people who want to, live a vegan lifestyle, but also travel? Because that's got to be hard.
As you know, I started like vegan tours because I wanted to make it easy for people. Yeah. So like they wouldn't have that problem, because it can be difficult depending on where you go. For me, I literally, like, my vacations are now eating vacations. Like, I travel specifically to eat, and I get to a city, and I will, like, Google all the vegan restaurants or, like, high-rated restaurants with vegan food, and I will, like, find some attractions I want to go to, and I'll put them all on a map, and I'll literally organize it based on location and just walk around a city. But there's typically, like, there's always going to be a Facebook group that has, vegan, like, Berlin vegans, Paris vegans. There's always, like, every city's got one. Vegas has one that's like 10,000 deep. And you can literally just go in and search in those Facebook groups for, like, let's say you want, like, vegan croissants in Paris. You look it up and find it. There's also a Happy Cow, which is an app, and it's not always accurate because it's user generated. And so typically, like, sometimes the times are off or the restaurant's not open anymore. Or, maybe someone gave it a really bad review, and so it's negated its stars a bit, so it doesn't sound as appealing as it really is. But so there's also that you can look at, and it is resourceful, but I'll always go and, like, Google it as well to make sure the information's accurate. But it definitely gives you an idea of vegan options in a city. And then if it's hard, you can always go to a market and get fruits and vegetables.
So the first tip was to look for the local Facebook groups. And then the apps, and then go shopping.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, some of the best restaurants I found have just been Googling.
That's awesome. Have you gone anywhere recently where it's been difficult to kind of go out to eat or have, your typical vegan experience?
No. I feel like just because I am pretty resourceful, like, the hardest time I had since I've been vegan was in Puerto Vallarta, like, 4 years ago. And it's just because I got bored of the food. Like, I was there in the off season, so, like, a lot of the restaurants that had vegan food weren't open. And then it's like you always have to ask, like, if there's lard in the beans, and
which there probably usually is.
So, like, see, and I'm like, damn it. But I ate a lot of chips and guac that first trip to Mexico. But since then, actually, Puerto Vallarta's gotten a lot more vegan friendly. Like, the second time I went, like, 6 months later, when things were open, there were tons of vegan options. Like, there's a vegan, like, taco shop that was so good. So really, I mean, you can. And granted, I haven't been to a lot of places as a vegan. Like, I've typically traveled. I mean, the past 4 years, I've been to Thailand quite a few times, Mexico a few times, in Europe and London. So I haven't gone, like, off the grid or to countries where finding vegan food would necessarily be hard. But also, I'm working on tours to Morocco, which obviously is not a vegan country. So that they do have vegan things there. And then, Madrid, as I said, has become a lot more vegan friendly. So I'm doing a tour there in Paris, which is surprisingly, like, incredibly vegan friendly. And you can find so many things that you would want to get in Paris, like, in general, veganized. So I think, like, Paris was a really cool discovery to kind of just walk that city and see all those options. Like, that blew me away. Like, I could move to Paris and eat every day and be completely happy. They just had great stuff.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So I'm thinking back to like a decade ago, though, so things could have changed. But when I was in Kyrgyzstan in Central Asia,
I don't know about that. That's still very hard.
yeah, so back in the day when I was there, probably like 11 years ago now, geez, um, my friend Erica, she actually rocked up as a vegan to this little country in Central Asia, and she was going to live with a Kyrgyz family while trying to learn Russian. And they couldn't really comprehend like what that was. So like they would make her the lagmin, the meat noodles, and then pick out bits of the meat and give her the meat soaked noodles.
Oh, bless their hearts, though. That's so sweet.
I know. She was like, they're doing the best they can, but I just eat rice like all the time, or I just eat bread or whatever at home, and then I eat, I go to the shops and eat something later because I don't want to make them feel terrible. But yeah, they were like feeding her like runny eggs. She's like, I don't eat eggs at all. So yeah, I would say that's probably not high on the list of countries that you should visit if you are vegan.
But again, she solved their problem.
Oh yeah, so she solved her own problem. Yeah.
It's always interesting, going to a place. It's just for people that want to go, especially places where they don't think there's going to be vegan options, definitely do your homework before you go, so you're not caught off guard. And
and I wouldn't be surprised if things have actually changed a bit by now. I mean, it's probably a few more options. Yeah.
I've been really impressed with a lot of places. Like I'm working with a person in Argentina to do a vegan tour there.
Wow, which is like the country you go to eat like giant plates of meat, right?
Yeah, so we're looking there to do a tour. So it's slow because I think part of it is showing the demand. So if you go in as a tour operator and say, hey, I want to have vegan options, can you make some? And I'm going to bring in a tour group, they're going to slowly start to adjust and make those changes as well. So it's just showing a little bit of a demand that can kind of help nudge them.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So what's like your favorite country for veganism? Like, where would you go and it would just be like the best place? Like, what would you think?
So many. Thailand is incredible. Berlin. Like, I haven't been to Berlin since I've been vegan, but Berlin has an amazing vegan scene that I
can understand that, actually.
Yeah. So where else? London. London's got when I lived in London, I was vegetarian, and that was 5 years ago now, and now the vegan scene in London has just exploded. I would say, there's so many places. Thailand is certainly probably one of the more vegan friendly places I've ever been to. But from a foodie standpoint, man, go to Paris.
Paris.
Go to Paris. Go get your French soup and your croissants and they've got some incredible restaurants there just doing incredible food. That is just like Paris is like a vegan foodie heaven.
I will definitely check it out when we can safely travel again. Crazy times, eh?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So what's going on in America, like vegan food scene?
So it's growing a lot. I think some cities are obviously slower than others, but as the demand is growing, a lot more is happening. So, we have Vegas, which has grown. I think Liv Kindly did a story about the work I was doing like 2 years ago. And in the 2 years since I had launched Vegans Baby, the vegan scene in Vegas grew 400%. So it's starting to really, really just blossom. Yeah, it's really cool to kind of watch and see cities that didn't used to have vegan options like Vegas. And this is Fido. When I had like, hi baby, when I had like, when I moved here, there were 4 vegan restaurants, and now we have something like 20 something.
Yeah, so awesome.
It's definitely growing, and it's really cool to watch it and see it as it expands. Like I run a vegan dining month, and it started in Vegas, and now we've expanded to a few other cities, and this year we're going to expand to even more. So it's definitely on the way up. it's one of the biggest food trends in the country right now.
That's awesome. That's so good. And what about like vegan in fast food? I wanted to ask you about this because do you guys have the Rebel Whopper?
I don't know what that is.
Like at Burger King, the Rebel Whopper?
Burger or the Impossible Whopper.
Oh, okay. So maybe they call it the Rebel Whopper here. But have you had it?
No, see, I'm not really a big fast food person, so I haven't had it yet. Plus, I'm also really scared that it's so hard to tell if if you're eating real meat or Impossible meat that like I'm just paranoid and I won't enjoy it. But the fast food scene here is definitely like it's grown so much. Burger King, Del Taco, Chipotle, Taco Bell, Jack in the Box, Carl's Jr. No, not Carl's Jr. White Castle, like they've all got vegan options now. Fat Burger. So it's really and it's just going to keep growing. I think Wendy's is running out of meat, so I'm hoping they you can't get meat. A lot of Wendy's out, so I'm hoping they'll start to be like, oh, maybe we should have like Beyond or Impossible or something.
So funny.
Yeah, even pizza chains are starting to have plant-based. So it's been really cool to watch that.
Yeah. So like Domino's here, they have a whole vegan plant-based range now.
Oh, so, I'm sorry. Say that again.
Domino's.
Hold on 1 second. I'm so Fido, come here. No, come here. Come here. Come sit with me. Come here. He's got to go. Oh, you. Come on. Come on. Okay, go ahead. Say it again.
Yeah, Domino's here in Australia, they have like a whole vegan range. Like they have all these different vegan pizzas. And yeah, I'm just like so happy that, even though it's like the fast food and all that stuff, you shouldn't be eating it, but still, if you are going to, at least there's like options.
It makes it accessible. It really helps.
And I think for anyone, especially in Australia, if you are a meat eater or not, just go get the Rebel Whopper, and it's probably going to change your mind like completely because it tastes so like smoky and delicious. It's crazy. Yeah, so I think that would be like my recommendation for someone who's like, I don't know about this. I'll be like, go get a Rebel Whopper, and then we'll talk.
Impossible is the best meat I've had on the market to like trick people, and they were here. Impossible just debuted their new like ground up pork at CES this year, and I went to their like launch of it, and they made all these different ingredients with this ground up pork. And Brooke, I swear, unless you knew what you were eating was vegan, you would not have known.
Really?
Like they nailed it. They're gonna really change. The goal of the founder of Impossible, his goal is to eliminate animal agriculture. I think he said by 10 years or 30. It was either 2030 or 2050 or anyway, in the next decade or three. His goal is to eliminate animal agriculture. So
that's awesome. That's a great goal. Yeah. What about like shows like do you guys have MasterChef?
Or something like that. I don't know. I don't have TV.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've been watching MasterChef. I used to not have a TV, but my boyfriend has to have a TV. And so now I watch TV in the evening, which is terrible.
I mean, I binge on Netflix.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so MasterChef, super popular in Australia. And I'm always like, oh, that sounds so good. Like, even though I wouldn't eat it, my boyfriend's like, you wouldn't even eat it. Like, why are you saying? I'm like, well, it still sounds like it would be a great, dish.
Yeah. Get what things taste like just because you don't have it anymore. I still know what bacon tastes like, and I still remember flavors and textures and things. So I mean, I know, even though I wouldn't eat it now and don't like it, but I would think it was good. So.
I would love to have a vegan MasterChef show. I would be like,
dream. I was just talking about that with somebody the other day. How I want to do it and I want to be a judge on it. So if anyone is a TV producer and wants to put together a vegan MasterChef show, holler at me.
I would love to be that judge too, because I could eat everything and I would love it.
It's fun to work with all these chefs and have them try vegan food. I would love it.
So good, yeah. So what are some steps people can take to introduce a more vegan diet into their life?
So I think that the most important thing is to just start swapping things out. Take your dairy milk and swap it out for almond milk. Take your butter and swap it out for Earth Balance or whatever.
Yeah. Nuttalex.
If you're in Australia, I'm not sure what the vegan butter is.
I do Nuttalex.
The what is it?
Nuttalex.
Okay, so I've never heard of it, but so it's just
It's so good.
So swipe that out. If you're baking, you can swipe out eggs for like a flaxseed water substitute. You can use Just Egg. Swipe out your mayo for like a Just Mayo. There's so many. Right now is a great time to try to go vegan because they really have made every product you can think of vegan. So just try with that. Try swapping things out like that. Take your burgers and swap them out from Impossible or Beyond. If you want chicken tenders or groundless or ground up beef or whatever, Gardein makes some really great products. And just start there. And it's just making those easy swaps to kind of get you going. And then once you're that far in, it's so easy because you've already learned the basics. You've already swapped out the necessities of cooking to be vegan. And so from there, it's just experimenting and trying different things, like the Just Egg. I'm obsessed with Just Egg, and I make Just Egg omelets all the time, and they're delicious. And then I'm learning how to cook in quarantine, so I've been making like egg substitutes and things that I'm like, this flaxseed water will perfectly.
Oh yeah, I'm all about that. Chia seed
there's some
water.
Great cookbooks out. So I think those are like the easiest things. And then also like, just don't be hard on yourself, because I think for a lot of people, there's an expectation of perfection immediately. And that doesn't, some people will tell you like, that's the way you have to do it. But I personally think that it's however you get there is how you get there. If you really want to go vegan immediately, go watch Dominion, go watch Earthlings, go watch those documentaries that show you the way animals are treated. It's not a lie. It's not, this is just the one factory farm you're seeing. It's really how it is. And that'll make you go vegan pretty quick. But food, do the basics and then go from there.
Yeah, I think that's really important what you said, kind of like be forgiving of yourself in the process. Like I would say like, if you go vegan, but you crave a burger every once in a while, allow yourself to have it, every month or every so many weeks. And what I found is that's what I did. And eventually the burger stopped tasting good.
Yeah.
Like it stopped tasting good after a while. I was like, actually my enjoyment level has gone like this instead of, so your taste buds change.
Yeah, like I didn't have like my goodbye meals to anything, like I literally was in a van coming home from the elephant park, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's a bunch of pigs being taken to slaughter. I'm done. And I didn't say goodbye to bacon or fried chicken or Thanksgiving and none of it. And so I told my parents, like this was in July, and I said, for Thanksgiving, I'm coming home, but I'm going to have Thanksgiving. Like I'm going to eat the Thanksgiving meal and I'm going to go get Roy Rogers fried chicken. And that was my plan. And then I got home and I was like, no, like I don't want it. Like I can't, I don't want to do it. Like I feel like I know too much now and I just can't.
Yep.
5 months later, I was like, no, I'm good. Or 4 months later, I'm like, that's okay. Like I know I said I wanted it, and maybe it helped me like stay vegan because I had this thing I was looking forward to.
Yeah.
But when it came, I'm like, no, I'm good.
You gave yourself the option, and that probably just meant that you weren't feeling like you were denying yourself of something. I think that was probably a big thing. My boyfriend, on the other hand, he went whole hog. Like after we got back from the States at the end of October, he said, I'm going to go vegan until the end of the year because he just felt like crap. We had just eaten junk food for like 3 weeks. And he was feeling so bad about himself. And he's like, till the end of the year. And he went all in. And when the end of the year came around, he was like, no, I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah.
Because he'd gotten used to it.
And you feel good.
Yeah.
You feel good. And I feel like for a lot of people, like, and I haven't had that, like, I haven't gone back from it since I've been vegan. But I hear a lot of people, I had meat and I feel like crap. And I'm like, yeah.
Or you had dairy and you're like, oh, my body actually doesn't like dairy.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much it was affecting me. Like that was with him. Like cheese is a no-go, like 100%. And now even when he eats meat, it's just like it sits there and he's like, I don't like the way I feel after I eat now. And he's like, it's better when I don't eat any animal products at all. And I'm like, oh my God, never thought you would ever say that ever. But so that's like another tactic, is just kind of give yourself a little bit of a challenge, like a 30-day challenge or whatever. Yeah, I think that's also a good way. But like one of the things I wanted to talk about was, oh, I wish my bunny would do that to me. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Just not sure. I'm looking at the little sound monitor thing and it keeps like doing something funny. So we'll see. So what if people want to go to a more vegan, plant-based lifestyle, but their family doesn't? Their partner doesn't?
Well, that's workable. You know, it's separate meals. It's kind of, you know, making sure that you're represented at the table. You know, having conversations that are kind and compassionate with your family versus attacking on both ends, because I know other people that aren't vegan don't get it a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And you know, there's always conversations around the holidays like how to go home and have a family meal if you're vegan with a family that's not vegan. So I mean, I'm very fortunate that my family is very supportive and they're vegetarian, if not like basically vegan now. And I'm single, so I don't have to worry about a partner that isn't vegan. But it really is just making sure that like the way you approach it is you know, is not aggressively.
Yeah.
And it's just, this is who I am. You know, like if you're together and it's maybe you don't want to cook the meals for both of you, you know, this is, I'm going to make my food and you make yours, or, you know, I'm choosing to have this at the meal and, you know, you choose whatever you'd like, but this is my decision. And it's just coming from a respectful place. Yeah, I mean, that's the best thing I can say. I know it's not easy.
Yeah, especially when people don't really understand it. Like, that's the hard part. Like,
I dated a guy, and he was like, I'm not going to lie, I just don't get it, Diana. And I'm like, I'm definitely not getting married. But as I've gotten older, the more I want to actually date somebody that is vegan or like open to it, because I am very much like, it's such a part of me now that it's like, I want that to be important to them as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it definitely is it's not the easiest thing, but I know plenty of couples that, you know, one's vegan and one's not. And okay, cool. You know, they just make their own food and it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking back to like me going to my mom's to visit, and she was like, "Hey, Brooke, I got you a cheese pizza. It has pepperoni on it, but you can just pick it off." I was like, "What?"
Thank you. Yeah, it's a bit of education too, because not everyone understands. You know, why don't you have it because it's picked up well? That's not really the point, you know.
So the fact that she worded it, I got you a cheese pizza, because I was like, oh, I'm just not going to eat any meat. I'll eat a little cheese when I'm with you guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To make it easier. But she's like, I got you a cheese pizza. It just has pepperoni on it, so pick it off.
I mean, that's a good way to like, was that gaslighting it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sorry,
I'm like, what's wrong with cheese pizza? Everyone loves cheese pizza. But as soon as you say you can't have the pepperoni on it, everyone's like, ugh. I'm like, if I gave you a cheese pizza right now, you would love it. All right, don't even lie.
Of course you would. Yeah.
So what about, we already kind of mentioned about it, but like, what are some of the changes that you experience when you go from, you know, eating meat, eating dairy to vegan?
I think it really depends on who you are and what you're consuming. Because, you know, there are some vegans where they go from a non-vegan life to vegan life and they drop like 50 pounds because they suddenly have stopped consuming crap. And they're consuming like whole plant food, like no oil or little oil, little salt. So it really depends what you're eating and how you're going to feel. For me, like I said, like my skin cleared up. I didn't lose weight, but that's because I was still eating, like I was eating everything that was veganized because that's what I wanted. Still, I wasn't at that point yet where I wanted, like, I really am not a fan of mock meats and things like that anymore. Like, I really want like whole plant food, creative dishes now more than like, here's some chicken tenders that are vegan. Enjoy. So for me though, like my energy has changed a lot. Like I have a lot more energy now. I don't get as sick anymore. Like I think I've been sick maybe 2 times in 4 years.
Oh, wow.
I sleep right now. I've been sleeping a lot better. Like I'm not gonna lie, my sleep isn't always great, but that's part of anxiety. But like since I've been eating a lot healthier during the coronavirus and everything, like I sleep really well. My hair grows quicker. So it's little things. And I wish I could tell you more, but when I went vegan, I didn't pay attention to a lot of it because I wasn't going vegan for me. So I didn't notice any of it. I'm just like, oh, cool. I'm doing something good, but and that was what I thought of. It wasn't like, did I lose weight? Yeah. And I actually think I did lose weight when I went vegan, but I was also like, I was very conscious. I lost weight and then I discovered vegan junk food and then I gained it all back. So,
yeah.
That's for a living. So good luck trying to really lose weight on that one.
Yeah, that's funny. I think I initially lost a few pounds, and the big thing is like just the way I feel after I eat a big meal. It's different. Yeah. So different. Yeah. And I love to eat a big meal. So
I just came from like an 8-course tasting and like, I mean, I'm full, but I don't feel terrible.
Yeah.
And it was sushi. So obviously like it was amazing and light anyway, but it was all just vegetables and rice. So
yeah,
I feel great.
So what about like smells? Because for me, smells have changed. Mm-hmm. I can't walk past a butcher without feeling sick, without noticing the smell. Whereas when I ate meat, I didn't really notice it. It was normal. You know what I mean?
It's like a smoker and then being a non-smoker.
Probably.
And because I used to be a smoker and I could never smell it on me, but as a non-smoker now, if I'm around someone that smoked, I can smell it. So they're definitely what I've noticed, like in Thai, and because like I've never really was in butchers before. Like I never ate I never had a very meat heavy diet before I went vegan, but Thailand's a really good example. When you walk through the meat markets in Thailand, you can smell the blood.
Oh, gross.
So, I think definitely stuff like that. Barbecues and stuff, I notice it a lot more. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, I like remember what it tastes like, which is, I don't know if you've ever had that where like, you walk by, I walked by a house today and they were making bacon. And I smelled it. I'm like, I remember that taste,
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, that flavor makes everything taste amazing. Like, yeah.
Like, but for the most, I really get turned off by like the smell of cooking steaks.
Yeah.
And I get more, and it didn't really happen to me until like 2 years ago. I was sitting at one of my favorite restaurants, sitting at their bar, and a person next to me ordered like a steak. And I looked over at it and I thought I was going to puke. And I've never felt like that before, but just looking at it made me like sick to my stomach. And I was like, oh, this is not a good thing. Like I literally like eat out every day of my life and I don't eat at restaurants that are vegan. And seeing that, I was like, oh God, Diana, you can't do this now, but I had a really hard time sitting next to him and like I couldn't look at his plate again.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed a lot of little changes like that. Yeah, the smells definitely affect me. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, we're getting to about an hour, so I figured we'd just kind of wrap it up with, one last question, which would be vegan must-eats in Vegas. So when people can come to Vegas and everything's opening up again, where would you recommend people go?
Okay, so I'm going to give you some vegan and some non-vegan, because some of the non-vegan restaurants do an amazing job and I want to support them because they are really working to cater to us. So for vegan, there is a little place called Pots, and it is an Egyptian restaurant, and it's all vegan, and it is amazing. And I tell everybody, had I seen you this year, I would have taken you there. So there's that. Tacotarian is a really great Mexican spot for tacos and margaritas and burritos. So I would take you there. This new place that just opened, Chikyu. So it's from the same company that opened Shizen in San Francisco, which is like a really popular, all plant-based, like high-end Japanese restaurant. So they just opened like here. So I would definitely take you there. And then like non-vegan, I would take you to Catch inside Aria because I've worked with that chef a lot and they've done a really good job with their vegan menu and they make just amazing like hearts of palm crab cake, cauliflower that my friend said she would quote sell her soul for. Then there's EDO, which is a tapas restaurant, and they do a beautiful vegan tasting menu there. Sparrow and Wolf, which is a local restaurant that has another gorgeous vegan tasting menu. So basically, like I'm taking you to all the places where it's like pure, it's plant-based. So like you're going to have just really good food made with fruits and vegetables and like herbs and spices and grains versus like a lot of mock meats.
The mock meat, yeah. Well, I'm hungry.
When you're allowed back in, please
come on. For sure. Next time I come to the States. Yeah, so I think we're going to wrap it up there, but thank you so much for joining me today and talking about this. I love it. And where can people find you?
He's so good at this. Come here. Come on, you want to go out? Come here. Come here. Okay. Fido, come here. Come here. They can find me on vegansbaby.com and at vegansbaby on every social media handle there is.
Vegansbaby everywhere. Awesome.
Yes.
All right. Well, we'll just say goodbye then, but thank you so much for chatting and thank you everyone for tuning in.
And if anyone has questions about going vegan, please email me. I'm so happy to help.
Yes. She is the best person to talk to about this.
Oh!
All right. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.